Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to go to Unearthed Arcana again for another controversial spell. This one is Sepia Snake Sigil. Right there. And again, this one that appeared in Dragon Magazine, so we had plenty of time to get used to it by the time we were using it out of this book. But this spell caused all kinds of problems. And I never really understood why. I think it's a pretty good spell. And I think the DM has to be on his toes with it, but I don't think it's a game stopper by any means. So it's a Conjuration Summoning, level 3, range is 5 feet, that's it. Duration is special, area of effect 1 sigil, verbal, somatic, and material components, 3-segment casting time, no saving throw. That, I think, is one of the areas that a lot of people get a little sad about. And by the way, in total honesty, when I first read this in the first few years the spell was around, we were calling it Sepia Snake Sigil, because I was not familiar with the word sigil. I had heard it, of course, but I didn't connect that those were the same thing. So it will still periodically pop up at my table, even from me, as Sepia Snake Sigil, but of course it's Sepia Snake Sigil. And there are 3 forms of this spell, but each eventually causes the conjuration of a deep brown snake-like force. This so-called Sepia Snake springs into being and strikes at the nearest living creature, but the Sepia Snake will not attack the magic user who casts the spell. Its attack is made as if it were a monster with hit dice of equal level to the magic user who casts the Dweomer. So if the MU is 7th level when he casts this thing strikes as a 7 hit dice monster. It's better attack table than the MU has, much better. If it is successful in striking, the victim is engulfed in a shimmering amber field of force, frozen and immobilized, until the caster releases Dweomer, or until Dispel Magic does so. So the caster can automatically release his own Sepia Snake Sigil at our table, because that's actually what it says, and then Dispel Magic has to go through the normal routine to affect the spell. I'm going to do a video on Dispel Magic and try to explain that a little bit, maybe soon. Until then, nothing can get at the victim, move the shimmering force surrounding him or her, or otherwise affect the field or the victim. The victim does not age. I have to tilt up a little bit. Grow hungry, sleep, or regain spells when in this state, and is not aware of his or her surroundings. If the Sepia Snake misses its target, it dissipates in a flash of brown light with a loud noise and a puff of dun-colored smoke, which is 10 foot in diameter and lasts for 1 round. So in theory, that would kind of blind your opponent, and you'd have a chance to get away once the smoke comes up. So either way, you get a benefit from the spell. The 3 applications of the spell are: 1, as a glowing sigil in the air, drawn by the spellcaster and pointed at the intended target within 5 feet. 2, as a glyph of umber marked on some surface that is touched or gazed upon. So you could put it on a door frame, or have a trigger when a door is opened and the door sill is stepped over. And 3, as a small character written upon some magic work to protect it. The components of the spell are 100 gold pieces of powdered amber, a scale from any snake, and a pinch of mushroom spores. So this is a pretty expensive spell to cast at 100 gold pieces per. So I definitely see where that's a bit of an inhibitor. But again, you're going to have player characters who fall into money, and that's not really going to be much of a stopper. It never was for me. I always would just write the 100 gold pieces off my sheet as I was renewing my spell components. So what this is, it's a 3-use spell. 1, you could use it in combat, where you draw it up and it'll strike somebody within 5 feet of you, and surround them with the force field and otherwise immobilize them. But the good news is that they're perfectly safe. The second way you can do this is on some surface. You could just do this in a hallway, where somebody's walking through a hallway, and the sigil will spring up and strike at them just in the hall. You could do it on a door or on a door frame. And then third, of course, you could put it on some kind of book, or even, as a character written on magic work to protect it. So it says specifically magic work. So you couldn't just put it on your pack or anything like that. You would have to put it on a magic tome. But we count spell books as, air quote, magic tomes. I realize they're not magic tomes in the conventional sense, but we do count spell books as magic tomes. So you absolutely could put it on your magic tome. Because it's not going to trigger by the caster who casts the spell, it's a great way to protect your spell books. You just cast 1 on each of your spell books. You can open the spell book with immunity, and then if somebody tries to open it without your permission, they'll get hit by the Sepia Snake Sigil. Now, this is seen primarily as an offensive spell, but we had a situation in a game years ago. It was being run by my friend Craig, and I was playing a higher level MU, and we had a prisoner, princess, who had been captured by a black dragon deep in a swamp, and she was being held in a cage. So we saw the situation. The dragon was right there. We were worried about the princess's safety. So I said, no, I've got this. I dimension doored into the cage behind the princess. The dragon became aware of me on a perception roll, but I cast a Sepia snake sigil on the princess. Thus, she was protected. The dragon breathed acid on me, would have killed her. She's fine inside the sigil. I took damage, but then the rest of the party attacked the dragon, and it was over in a hurry. It worked out really well, and we were able to save her. Similar situation, Craig also DMing. Same character for me, higher level magic user, my mage Stormcrow. Similar kind of situation. There were 3 helpless villagers being held prisoner in an area, and they were behind some bars. So I thought, well, I'll do the same thing. Well, Craig anticipated me this time. I teleported in, and I threw the sigil on one of them, and I had ready the second one, the third one I was going to teleport out with. Except it turned out that all 3 were hags. They were shape changed, polymorphed to look like helpless villagers, but all 3 were hags. So all of a sudden, I'm in this cage fighting for my life against 2 hags, because the one hag I did hit successfully with the sigil. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that he beat me in my own game. He wouldn't let me do the same trick twice, and it was very effective. So Craig, accolades, very well played. We still laugh about that. That comes up at my table pretty much every time I play Stormcrow, and it was a lot of fun. So anyway, there's my look at Sepia Snake Sigil. It's a great offensive, but it can also be a great defensive spell. If you're in a situation where you can't get somebody out of a dangerous situation, maybe you've got a dimension door where you can't take somebody with you, you could dimension door to safety, but you'd have to leave them behind for whatever reason. It's a great way to you hit them with the Sepia Snake Sigil. Hope nobody on the other side has a Dispel Magic, and just take off. And then when you come back with reinforcements or your spell's renewed or more hit points, whatever the situation is, when you come back to retrieve that person, you as the caster can automatically dispel the sigil and free them. So it's a spell that has tremendous uses. I don't think it's overpowered. You still have to roll the hit. I've seen these things miss a ton. And the smoke comes up for a round, but it's never really been much of an issue. We have it, where if the guy's still swinging at you in the same set of segments, he'll be swinging at you at a -4 because suddenly this whole thing is covered in smoke. But I'm also taking away your dexterity for dodging the blow because you can't see it coming. So it all kind of washes out. I've never worried too much about the smoke effect of this. So anyway, that's it for Sepia Snake Sigil today on page 121. Let me know what you think. Maybe this is a spell that you guys use to good effect. Maybe there's other ways I haven't thought about using them. Oh, one other incidental point on this is we had occasion to hit, I think it was a wyvern. Yeah, it was a wyvern, was in a dive, and a flying PC got right behind it, threw the sigil, and hit it. And the question became, does it crash to the ground, protected by the force field? Does it crash to the ground, or does it stay in place? And that's an interesting question, and I'm of 2 minds on that. One says, yes, it stays in place because nothing can get at the victim, move the shimmering force surrounding him. That would include gravity. So I would say they're suspended in the air. I've had players argue with me about it, and then sometimes I've recanted and said, fine, okay, he slams into the ground, he gets buried, 5 feet deep in the mud, and but he's still there, he's still protected. Then, of course, they can kind of all line up, get their attacks ready. The caster can drop the sigil, and he has to be within 5 feet to drop the sigil, by the way, since casting range is only 5 feet. So he drops the sigil, and then everybody attacks the creature, and it's toast. So there's 2 different ways to think about it. I like the idea of it being suspended in air since no force can move it. Like I say, that would include gravity, that would include its own speed, momentum. None of that would affect it. So there you have it. That's it for today on page 121. A nice look at the Sepia Snake Sigil. Let me know what you think. And if you like what you heard and saw, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on page 121.